We're going to talk a little bit today and and on Wednesday about the Tang Dynasty poets, which is a general term for artists who were producing work over a span of the Tang Dynasty lasted for like 300 years, and we're even looking a little bit on the span of that, and even kind of pre-Tang poets as well. It is a period of some remarkable productivity. The medieval era of in Asia is actually pretty distinct from medieval era in European traditions, not just for the kind of art that is produced, but actually in its in people's perception of it. The medieval era has always suffered from its somewhat pejorative taint in the European circles of the Dark Ages, and for a long time this stuff was kind of disparaged. I mean, for hundreds of years people were like, well, yeah, there's just a bunch of muttering barbarians. It's not like the classical ancient era. It's not like the Renaissance or early modern era, when things were great. This is just sort of like, a bunch of people croaking out in the out in the hinterlands. That is a wildly biased and inaccurate portrayal, but that is a long point of debate. Nothing of the case in the Eastern traditions. In Asia, the medieval era is also generally called the classical era, because that's when things really started to flourish in a wide-ranging way. You get remarkable developments out of China, out of Japan, out of Korea, also the Asian subcontinent, India, and the whole southern peninsula. All of this art starts coming about in a time where there is some political turmoil, but there's also a burgeoning civilization growing out of it. And that's really the sweet spot where you want to be in, quite frankly, if you're looking for a culture to develop some art. You want a recent memory of some upheaval, some instability in your culture, where people tend to feel things in ways that are much more vibrant and, let's say, close to the bone than just everything's always fine. The culture of busy places, the culture of places where there is unrest is almost always more interesting than something that is always sedate. Very little art that is great comes out of San Diego, quite frankly. It's always too pleasant and placid there. I'm joking. I love San Diego. It's one of the great cities in the U.S. But that tradition of political upheaval throughout China specifically here, great influxes of other people bringing new ideas, and also with them some authoritarian tendencies. These cultures tend to perk up. They tend to get very vibrant. And then you tend to get as well a degree of civilization on top of it. When you are struggling for your life, it's very difficult to produce great art. But if you get a little bit of peace and quiet following that, you can start to really sit back and reflect, recalling the struggle for existence, recalling the hunger and the fear and the uncertainty of daily life under difficult times. But you're not running for your life, so you have time to sit down and write down a few thoughts. That's really the sweet spot, and that's what China particularly, especially experiences for quite some time. That leads to some great outpouring of literature. Particularly, I would say, as a juncture point between the traditions of Confucianism as kind of the bedrock of Chinese culture, especially under imperial rule, but also Taoism functioning within there, which tends to encourage, let's say, a certain unplugging from the day-to-day cares of the imperial world, while still basically, as we have seen, supporting it. But also within this, they start importing from India Buddhism. Buddhism starts coming about, which encourages even more unplugging from the world of the political and the worldly and the that kind of realist mentality that you see so much within the Confucian tradition. So those three major thought habits, let's say that, without getting tied up in religious and theological and doctrinal concerns. Those thought habits are always swirling around one another in this wonderful soup of medieval culture in Asia, and from that you get these remarkable offerings of great art.